the choir director asked a member of the chorus to sing by themselves. And I was so scared to death, so terrified. I told him, no, you can fail me or throw me out of the class, but I am absolutely not singing in front of anyone. So at the end of the period, everyone left and he pulled me aside, asked me to sing for him, just he and I one-on-one. And I started singing and he just couldn't believe what he heard. He ran over to the file cabinet, started pulling out music, papers are flying everywhere. And he's, going back and forth to the piano. Can you sing this? Can you sing this? What about this? At the end of all that, he sat me down and he looked me in the eye and he told me, Christopher, you have a gift from God, an obligation to share that gift. From that moment forward, I actually got sick in that moment because I knew, part of me knew he was right, but the idea that I had to change my whole life focus from academia to the arts and potentially performing, I was so nervous about it, it made me sick.
Welcome to the Heart of Show Business. I am your host, Alexia Melocchi. I believe in great storytelling and that every successful artist has a deep desire to express something from the heart to create a ripple effect in our society. Well, hello to all my listeners and viewers, because we got YouTube going on as well, of the Heart of Show Business with me. I have a very special guest on so many levels, but most of all, I gotta say, I invited him because he's Italian. I mean, come on. I mean, Christopher Macchio, how much more Italian can you get? And, I gotta bring the Italians into my show specifically, but he's also an incredible singer. So let's leave all the politics out of the table in the show, because I do want to talk to him about his artistry and I want to talk about his incredible career. So giving you a little glimpse about who he is. He's an American classical crossover tenor, Christopher Dennis Macchio, as his full name, from Long Island. He has been called America's tenor, but now we just gave him a new name, which we don't want to go there. He has a new nickname that we just created before we pushed recording. He can tell you about if he wants to share. Otherwise, we'll leave that. But what I love about it is he rose to fame after singing at Mar-a-Lago. And of course, that connected him with our president, Donald Trump, not Donald Trump, President Donald Trump and his inner circle. He does perform solo and with the New York tenors, and he has released 2 albums, Dolci Momenti, and said in proper Italian, and On Holy Night. And he has credits at Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, PBS specials, and collaborated with David Foster. And most notably, if you were not watching television, you missed out. He sang the Star Spangled Banner at President Trump's January 20 inauguration inside the Capitol Rotunda. So his goal is to unite audiences through the transcendent power of music. Welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so great to have you on because, of course, when you sing Italian, I just swoon, I'm Italian, so I love that. But I want to go through your journey as obviously you were, from what I read about you, you were very shy, which is hard to believe.
Oh, yeah, very.
Very hard to believe. So what was the turning point for yourself where you found your voice and here you are being who you are in your charming personality?
Well, I have to say, I kind of figured out that I could sing, I could carry a tune when I was about 13 years old. And I was listening to the soundtrack for the Godfather Part III. And if you recall, part of that movie, the plot involves Michael Corleone's son becoming an opera singer. And so the soundtrack to that film had a few different genres of music. You had Harry Connick Jr. doing jazz, you had Al Martino crooning, and then you had another gentleman, an opera singer, delivering some selections from Cavalleria Rusticana. Mm-hmm. And I was able to mimic all of those vocal styles. And I just thought to myself, not too bad. I do a convincing, impression of all 3. That's great. And I just left it at that. I really didn't want anybody to ever bother me or ask me to sing or get in front of any audience or crowd. So I really tried to keep it a secret. My family had no idea that I could carry a tune. And it was only 2 years after that. I'm now 15 years old, and my high school chorus director, a class, by the way, I only took to satisfy a New York State graduation requirement because that was I thought at the time it was a waste of a class because I couldn't get AP college credit, during that period. So I took that course, and halfway through, the choir director asked each member of the chorus to sing by themselves. And I was so scared to death, so terrified. I told him, no, you can fail me or throw me out of the class, but I am absolutely not singing in front of anyone. So at the end of the period, everyone left and he pulled me aside, asked me to sing for him, just he and I one on one. And I started singing, and he just couldn't believe what he heard. He ran over to the file cabinet, started pulling out music. Papers are flying everywhere, and he's, going back and forth to the piano. Can you sing this? Can you sing this? What about this? And at the end of all that, he sat me down and he looked me in the eye and he told me, Christopher, you have a gift from God and an obligation to share that gift. And from that moment forward, I actually got sick in that moment because I knew part of me knew he was right, but the idea that I had to change my whole life focus from academia to the arts and potentially performing, I was so nervous about it. It made me sick. And it actually took me years to actually get over that stage fright. I went to a conservatory of music afterwards, and even in music school, okay, uh, the other students had no problem getting up and singing, and I avoided it like the plague. So nobody even really knew how I sounded until at the end of the year we had final exams and you had to sing, and they were like, "Oh my God, this guy's the best kid in the class," and we had no idea because he avoided singing the whole school year, even at the conservatory. So it took a long time, and it took a lot of positive feedback from audiences. I maintain to this day an aversion to seeking attention for its own sake. Um, I made my peace with it insofar as it can be a useful tool to achieve something of greater purpose and significance. And so it's all of that positive feedback I've received over the years, people explaining, imparting to me what it means to them to hear the music, to hear the singing. And so I've realized that if I have the power to have that effect on people, that it could be a very useful and worthwhile mechanism to achieve something special. And so that's really the only reason why I do it, because the day that stops being the case, and the very day that people no longer have that same kind of response, I'm done. I will completely shift my focus to something else. It's really just, an acknowledgement that I think whatever gift each of us has been endowed with, we ultimately do have an obligation to leverage it to the greatest possible public good. And so that's what I've been doing over the last number of years. And it's just been my privilege to continue doing that.
What a beautiful story, Christopher. And it reminds me a little bit about Laurence Olivier, when he was having stage fright and he was being told that he has to let the light find him. And all he had to do is just stand still on stage and just stand in the middle of the spotlight. And sometimes he didn't have to do anything. He just had to bring along his presence. And I just
Wow.
did a little Facebook thing or Instagram live just, yesterday about the power of presence and stillness. And it seems to me like you've done a lot of soul searching, and everything that you have arrived to today is obviously God's calling, but it's also your own getting out of your way so that you can share your gifts. And that is such a beautiful thing. And I must say, it's no coincidence, right? I heard in a little bird told me a little, ChatGPT told me that you were supposed to not perform at Mar-a-Lago. You were, I guess, a substitute performer. And,
Yeah.
and here you are, you know,
God has
destiny
a funny
finds you.
way. It's I was on the Upper West Side in front of a store that's no longer there called Filene's Basement. And I just remember that because, it was one of those moments. I got a call at 9 o'clock at night from one of the members at Mar-a-Lago. And he said, I just had dinner with Donald. He was not president then. I just had dinner with Donald, and he's all upset. Elton John just canceled for New Year's Eve, and he's got no big name. He's got a house band. He's got people that will play throughout the night, but he's got no big name to deliver like a knockout performance, and as a highlight of the evening. So I told him, well, I've got a kid. Nobody knows who he is, but he'll blow everybody away. So he said, Donald told me, all right, send the kid down, bring him down. He's like, so you've got to get a plane ticket right away, first thing in the morning to Palm Beach, PBI. So I went on my phone right then and there, and I got a ticket, Delta down to Palm Beach. And it was December 30th. I got that call, and of course the performance was the next day, December 31st, New Year's Eve, um, and I sang for 1,000 people in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. And afterwards, you just never forget that the president was saying, he grabbed the mic and he told everybody in the room, this guy's voice is magnificent, unbelievable. Let's give another round of applause. And then he and I exited the stage, and he just told me, your voice is absolutely fantastic. He goes, boy, you really give it to him. You work your tail off on that stage. You give everything. And it's funny because just the other day I was going through my camera roll on my iPhone, just kind of get some pictures organized, and I found. I don't know how I had the presence of mind to do this at the time, but I found I was gonna delete it. This black video, it was like a blank video. So sometimes you're fumbling with your phone, and so you kind of create a. Anyway, the video is blank because the phone was in my pocket, but it captured the audio of my exchange with Donald Trump about how he loved the performance, and it captured him. He's like, "You got to come over and meet Rod Stewart." And so we go over to Rod Stewart's table. He was wearing a beautiful sequin tuxedo jacket. And he's like, oh, your voice is great. My wife, Benny, couldn't believe what she had. He's like, you've got to sing at my birthday party. So the very next week, I flew to Beverly Hills and I sang for Rod Stewart's 70th birthday party with all of the Hollywood celebrities. And it was just a wonderful opportunity provided by the fates and of course, by Donald Trump, then Donald Trump. And then, as fate would have it, and then over the next couple of years, he was focused on being president, and I was doing things, traveling around the world, singing and so forth. And I really, was not in his direct orbit. And then, as we say, fate intervened. And as it happens, I was doing charity events for his brother, Robert S. Trump. I didn't know that he was the benefactor, but I found out later and was introduced to him, and he became a fan of mine. Robert S. Trump, President Trump, then President Trump's brother, and I really appreciated his friendship. And I never asked him to, bring me, back into President Trump's orbit. I just let it be what it was. And unfortunately, he tragically passed away in 2020. He hit his head on a yacht, and then he had a blood clot, and he ended up passing away. And the day that he did pass, his widow called me. And she told me, Robert just passed. You're the second phone call that I'm making. And the reason that you're the second phone call is because God just told me you have to do all of the music for the funeral. And so we were planning to do it in Manhattan. De Blasio wouldn't allow it for COVID reasons and bureaucracy and to hold a grudge. So we moved the funeral for President Trump's brother to the White House. East Room of the White House, only the third funeral to ever take place there. The first two being Abraham Lincoln, and the second being John F. Kennedy. So we had the president's brother's funeral, Robert S. Trump, at the East Room, and I did 10 songs for that funeral. And in the middle of that service, I did the Lord's Prayer. And I had asked the person in charge of the event, which was Melania's chief of staff at the time, if it was okay for me to give the big ending. I said, I don't know if it's quite appropriate for a funeral. She said, the president just argued with me on why we couldn't fit 50 violinists in this room and still have space for the guests. So the bigger you can do it, the better, trust me. So I really let it fly. And right in the middle of the funeral, he was gracious enough to jump out of his seat and give me a standing ovation at his brother's funeral. And afterwards, when they had just finished saying goodbye to the casket, president came back in, and by then people were forming a line and taking selfies and photos with me. And he called me over and he just told me how magnificent my voice was. He said, "Your voice sounds just like my good friend Pavarotti. Who do you think's better, you or him?" And of course, the answer is Pavarotti. But he said, "Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's just you and him and nobody else." And with that, uh, this relationship was really rekindled, and it's been an amazing journey since then to get closer to the Trump family, to see just how gracious they are in public and in private, but especially in private, where you don't have the opportunity to skew things with the media and so forth. But so it's been quite a journey. And I can say that politics aside, policy aside, that just on a personal level, it's been a real blessing. And I'm very grateful for the platform that I've been given and the opportunities to share my gifts that I've been given. So I just hope to have the privilege to continue to do that.
What a beautiful reply, Christopher. And I really do believe everyone needs a champion. And if that champion is a person of power who sees who you are and sees your potential, because trust me, if there's one thing I know about our president is, he likes who he likes and he does not like who he does not like. It's not like
Yeah.
he lets himself be swayed by other people's opinion. It's just his opinion. So the fact that he has chosen even to sing for him on his, swearing in, which that must have been an incredible experience also. I mean, obviously, as an American, most of all, to be in the rotunda and doing this on an intimate setting when it was supposed to be for hundreds of thousands of people, and here you
Yeah.
are. And I know that you had a very special emotional moment that you spoke about, and I'd love to hear about it when you went and sang in that specific time. Was there something that moved you, that touched you, beyond obviously the significance of history behind it?
Well, everything about the last year has been just extremely memorable and rewarding in its own right. And the inauguration experience was no different. There were, many moments that were just had an intimacy and a heartfelt component that meant a lot. And I it was I could say that everything was heightened, not just for the history, but on a personal level, a professional level. It was very intense and stressful, of course. That was part of it as well. And um, I, I really, for the first time, was fielding dozens and dozens of interviews, for example. And if I guess now I have the experience and the knowledge, the wisdom, where as a singer, especially an opera singer, that doing 50 interviews right before you have to sing in front of the whole world is probably not the best thing to do to save your voice. And so I really had to be extremely focused to be able to get through that performance, because I had just done so much talking, so many interviews, and also so many rehearsals. there were uh, three different, very high profile performances that took place that week. One of which was at the Capitol Rotunda, one of which was at Sterling Golf Club with the largest private fireworks display ever in world history, donated by the fireworks company and Jeff Bezos. Um, and then, of course, I had to sing at the National Prayer Service the day after the inauguration at the Rotunda. So those were three really high profile things, and each of them had their own teams of people that wanted me to rehearse on their schedules, and so there was so many moving parts. So I can say that it was it was overwhelming in a few different respects, but also, of course, as you mentioned, the historical significance, not just delivering the national anthem for the nation, uh, which is always a privilege for whomever might be called upon to do it. But particularly in this case, with the context of this being a political comeback, an unprecedented political comeback. Of course, Grover Cleveland, had separate, administration, non-consecutive administrations, but really, President Trump. There's nobody that had been attacked the way he had come under fire, and then came back from that, and to be sworn in again, and in front of a largely hostile crowd. Conversely, there were so many supportive faces. We had Elon with us, and Jeff Bezos, and some wonderful CEOs, different politicians that were just smiling and had a twinkle in their eye. In that context, was particularly meaningful. And another face, of course, that was in the crowd was Anne Marie Palin, President Trump's brother's widow, who originally had asked me to perform at that funeral. And so her presence was also particularly emotional for me, because it was her that reconnected me to President Trump. And so I'm very grateful to her for that as well.
Wow, what incredible memories and what an incredible life journey you had so far. And, speaking again about your classical music background, I know you're getting ready to do a fundraiser, I think, for this organization called Make Music Right, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I do want to talk to you before we go into this event, which I'd love to know more about. There's been you obviously champion classical music and obviously the development of artistic endeavor for youth and children. What do you have to say, without getting political, but just as a personal opinion? There's been a lot of talk about defunding the arts, and there's been a lot of talk about apparently not allowing artistic, enterprise in the schools and all of that. I'm not even going to touch Kennedy Center or any of that, but just like the defunding of the arts, let's put it this way. What do you have to say about that as an artist? Because obviously, without being political, it's you grew up, and artistry and singing brought you out of your shell and gave you greater purpose in life. So I'd like to know, what do you have to say about that?
It's hard to phrase these things in a way that will not be possibly construed as being political, because as we all know, almost everything is being politicized in one way or another.
Yeah.
I can say, just from a values standpoint, that all my life I have observed and lived through a period where our culture overall has been coarsening, has gotten increasingly vulgar, and how it seems that the people that are producing this content have an interest in appealing to the lowest base instincts of people in order to make a quick dollar. And I think that there was a time not too long ago where the arts served the opposite purpose, that it elevated people and inspired them to, actually put their baser instincts in check and aspire to something greater and more evolved and more elevated sensibility, aesthetically and morally. And you even go back to some of these Greek philosophers, Aristotle and Plato and Socrates, and they all told you that you show me the music of a culture, and I'll show you the values of that culture. And so, a cursory glance at the music charts today and the some of the artists that are having the most publicity and success, they're doing so by catering to these low base instincts, shock value. And I just don't think that, while I don't believe in censorship and while I do believe in freedom of expression, I do also think that there's a responsibility and that a more elevated approach is both appropriate and incredibly rewarding. And yes, historically, over thousands of years, public funding has played an important role. But in supporting and patronizing the arts. But with that comes an acknowledgement of the responsibility that the content that you take that money and end up creating actually has a constructive effect on the society and reinforces the timeless values that we've all agreed upon.
What an interesting and well thought of perspective, Christopher. And I'll go further because we don't even have to think about 1950s. I mean, you know Italian music because obviously you sing it from the opera, but even contemporary, one of the things that I pride myself as an Italian is that the lyrics of even contemporary singers today, they are so poetic, they're so beautiful. They're all about human connections. I think that's why I'm obsessed also with country music, because, you know, what I love about country music, it's probably a very close comparison to the level
Yeah.
of songwriting and lyrics that the Italian artists do or the Greek artists. There is even the French ones. There is a lot of heart. They're less about sexuality, the less about, oh, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to, you know, they're more about human relationships, human connections, and all of that, celebrating spirit,
Right.
celebrating growth. And we don't even have to go back in time because I mean, this type of music is still very much out there. It's just not so much found, sadly, like you said, in the charts in America, unless it goes under the level of Christian song or country song. That's when they like to
Right.
say it. When
Wholesome music has now become niche as opposed to
yeah,
mainstream. And
exactly.
that's something that we really have to change, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree because I mean, there is a reason why so many country artists crossovers. I think because there is a hunger into wanting to listen to music that makes us feel good, that does not incite anger, does not incite, you know, sexism, does not incite racial discrimination, because a lot of it does, whether we like it or not. I mean, when you're calling people names and you, even if you are, you know, so
Yeah,
that
yeah. If you're
it's,
using that verbiage in
yeah,
general, it's
it's
just not a good thing.
not a good thing, not a good. So tell me about this event that you, before we close, I want to hear about this Make Music Right, this event that you're going to be doing.
So I about a year ago became aware of a young lady who was really the she was the opposite of what we're talking about in terms of a lot of these young people who are kind of going down the wrong path. She was clearly on the right path, and I was very surprised to see somebody so young, so excited and enthusiastic about promoting exactly what we've been talking about, putting music and culture out there that is of more wholesome, elevated nature. And so she and I decided that we need to work together. And she was in the midst of creating a 501(c) charity called Make Music Right. And I said, instead of creating a separate and competing charity, which was I was also in the process of doing, I said, let's combine forces, join our efforts together. And so she and I co-founded this wonderful charity, brand new, and it's all about providing the opportunity and guidance for young people to start engaging with and creating wholesome content. So Make Music Right is having its first gala, its launch gala at Trump Westchester on August 8th. And we're very, very excited to have Lara Trump as our first keynote speaker, and she'll also be performing a selection or two from her upcoming album. So we're really excited to hear Lara perform as well, and to hear some of her thoughts on this matter, on culture and so forth. And we think Eric, her husband, the president's son, will also be joining us. And we have just a real great slate of board of directors and people who are really excited about this initiative. So it's going to be a fantastic gala.
Oh my goodness. I'm having FOMO right now. Why do I live in LA, make movies, and just do stuff? And why don't I come to New York? But that's okay. We'll have an excuse to make movies together, Christopher, for sure.
Absolutely.
And I wish you.
They might have mentioned, by the way, I had the privilege of being featured singing in the movie Cabrini.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
and
Awesome.
yeah, so that was a wonderful project by
Yeah. Angels.
Alejandro Monteverde.
Yeah.
And great director. And let me tell you, we talk about wholesomeness. I was on that set only for a couple of days. I had a very, very tiny feature, but I was so grateful to be included in that wonderful project. But I did have the opportunity to kind of get a sense of what the energy was on that set. And really everyone had this glow about them, that they were involved in something special and uplifting and inspirational, and in telling the story of Saint Cabrini, Mother Cabrini. And so it was really just a beautiful opportunity. And then I also had the chance to work with the legendary Italian American actor Armand Assante.
Oh,
Uh,
I know Armand.
in
Yeah.
and he did a wonderful satire on the Don Quixote, the
Yeah.
Cervantes story. And
Yeah.
so that was a lot of fun too. And I got to sing in that film as well. So whatever, and actually there's another project that is currently looking for funding, and we're actually pretty close to getting enough money to really start production, is about Father Capodanno, who was a Catholic priest who sacrificed himself in delivering first rites to soldiers on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so that's he's actually also in the initial stages of canonization. And so I'm going to be involved with that project as well. But all that aside, I really am looking forward to be involved in one of your projects. So
Yes, there is a part in you for La America. It was written for you before we even met you, which is amazing.
wow, I love
And
it. See,
and
this
I
is how God works.
it
Not to
was
sound, not to sound overly, pious, but I really do believe that God has a mission for each and every one of us, a vision about how we
absolutely.
are meant to contribute. And
Yes.
so I hope that, I'm really looking forward to working with you on that.
Oh my goodness, I hope so. And like I said, I mean, I had to do this project when Joe, the author, came to me with the book. I was bowling when I read it, because of course I saw the struggles and the sacrifices that the ancestors. Of course I'm not American. I'm a naturalized American, as they say. But I saw the sacrifices that the Italians made to come and do so much good in this country. And this speaks for immigration, but it speaks also for those that worked hard and appreciated the country that they came in, and what they did in order to have a place in this country and to create some great things. This country was founded by immigrants, and Italians did things a little bit better. Don't want to be like boasting, but we
Not that we're biased,
not that
but
we're biased, but there's
the capital, the capital rotunda was designed by Italians. Christopher Columbus
I'm
discovered
so
this
glad
place
those
in the
statues
first
are back.
place.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Not to say, but the opera and all this like little fashion, a few things that the Italian did that nobody heard of. But you
if
know,
anybody's ever seen a Ferrari whiz
yeah,
by,
exactly. Yeah, jewelry, whatever, Bulgari. That's why I'm saying we really want to make this movie, and of course, it's been a struggle, and all the support that we can get, we're gonna look for it. But there's whatever happens to it, there is a part for you there. And like I said, it was written before Joe met you. There is a part for a tenor who gets up and sings.
wow,
We don't want to give too much of the story, but it was meant for you. So
I love it.
forward to seeing you on set, and we'll make sure you have good Italian food.
Absolutely.
You might have to sing a tune or two for the producers, so they're like but that's fine. we'll push a little, we'll leverage our power. But no,
Yes.
it's been great having you on my show. And as you know what's coming. Defining yourself in 3 words, if you came up with that.
Oh, right.
Or
Right. Yeah. I
the
should have had
mantra.
that. I should have had that thought thread, gestating in the background during all this. I was so focused. I can say, defining myself in 3 words. I would say curious, ambitious, and grateful.
Wow. You couldn't, you didn't think about that? Did you just freestyle it? I love it. It's so you. It's so you. So you. Okay. And then if it comes to mind really quickly, if there's anything, life mantra, phrase, reading, anything that you go to in moments of darkness, what would that be?
Really, I don't know if it's like a distilled mantra. Uh, in my dark moments, I just remember that all of us are human and we share the same experiences at the end of the day. And um, that's one of them. And it really kind of provides perspective on, when relationships don't necessarily go the way that you would like them to. I just keep in mind that everyone is doing the best that they can for the most part within their life experience and all the issues they may be dealing with, and sometimes that takes people to very dark places, and they need to be held accountable. But I try to at least maintain a sense that they're doing what they're doing, you know, for for a reason, and I try to be as understanding as I can, while at the same time making sure that you know uh, I do justice to myself and those that are important to me, uh, and protect myself and those who are important to me. Uh, and loyalty is a big part of that as well. You have to be loyal to yourself and to those that you believe in. And then the other thing is, I really value truth. I think that the ultimate beauty in the universe is found through truth. They have it's truth is beauty and beauty is truth. That's really what I believe. I think it's part of why our Italian culture celebrates beauty so much, is because it's the truest expression of the essence of life. Is when and I believe in that 100%. When someone's genetics are expressed in the truest fashion, it results in beauty and symmetry.
Yeah.
And you know, so I believe very strongly that the curiosity that I spoke of, I hope that it leads to the discovery of truth, and there's a real beauty in that universally. So it's very important to me. It's one of the most important things in my life.
What a beautiful ending statement, Christopher. And you know what? I love what you said about Italian. And there's something that I want to say before I say goodbye to everyone. And, I'm going to be dropping all the links. If you are in the area and you want to go see the gala, if you want to listen to Christopher's music, get to know him as an artist, first and foremost. And I had the privilege of being born Italian. And one of the things that my parents taught me is that no matter what you think in politics, political, views or anything, it can all be resolved over a good meal. And, we have all
Oh
to
yeah.
respect other people's opinions, because one of the things that we Italians do, as you know very well, we sit with good food, we sit with wine, we can curse each other out because we disagree. And then 5 minutes later, we're toasting to each other's health. And that's what it's about. That's what life is about. And we need to maintain that. We need to maintain civility in our country and in the world, really, just not in our country. And know, like you said, we're all human. We're all struggling. We're all having our own problems. But ultimately, sit and listen to your neighbor. Even if you don't think the same way, even if you don't agree, have a good meal, celebrate life, be grateful, which is exactly how you describe yourself. And I hope that gives you something to think about, my audience. That's why I wanted to bring Christopher. It was because I admire him as an artist. And, he sings Italian, so he had me at, Nessun Dorma, but, he knows how to sing the Star Spangled Banner too. So it's been so great. Thank you for coming on my show, Christopher. It's been a true pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, and good luck with everything that you're involved with. It's all tremendous stuff.
God bless you. And to all your listeners, if you like this episode, please review, subscribe, rate. I love to hear your thoughts. And if you have questions, I'll make sure that Christopher gets them for me. Ciao a tutti, as I say in Italy, because I have an Italian guest. Ciao and grazie.